socialist, communism, or social ownership.
Welcome to the Adam and Sheridan Show video codcast.
Welcome to the Adam and Sheridan Show
Yeah.
codpiece. You can order them with a host of other products at our store.
Spicing up your life, your love life with a wife. Spicing up the life with a wife. Spicing, by the way, is not a word.
All right, on today's
Welcome.
show, I want to talk about...
I'm Adam Portwright, by the way.
I'm Sheridan, and what I want to talk about today is... I'm going to have a brief thing at the beginning where I was talking about revolutions and revolutionary politics and how you approach people about it. So I was recently in a very long car ride with a friend and speaking to him about workers and workers' rights because he was talking about his job. And I started talking about the movement for the 8-hour workday, the movement for the 6-hour workday, which only happened in, I believe, a few companies, and one that lasted until 1983, Kellogg Company. We talked about that.
And they were paid 8-hour wages, right?
I believe so,
Okay,
yeah.
right.
But the thing is, it left time for a life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the overwhelming statement of these people is that they felt they had time for a life. So I was speaking to him about this, and then I went into cooperative management of factories and means of production. So cooperation among the working class to be able to get things done without bosses. And he said, this is ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. And then I talked to him about Mondragon. I talked to him about, we went over a steel company that was going under. The workers, instead of getting fired, bought all the equipment, moved into a new facility, and now have no bosses. Mm-hmm. So I said it can happen. It has happened.
Yeah, it has happened. People who say
it's
things
different.
can't happen, like workers control the means of production, yeah, that sounds like a pretty fanciful idea. But you know what? So did ending slavery.
Yeah.
And so did
Yeah.
so did not having a First Amendment, where we had a state religion.
Yeah.
You know, these things were how we lived. Then we had a revolution, and now we no longer live under these repressive things. And you know, workers control the means of production. It's just the next step.
So again, when people are talking to you every day, just mix in little bits of things like this can be different. Not because everybody thinks everyone else is a crook and stupid
And greedy
and
yeah.
avaricious and just all sorts of any negative word.
Right.
And they use that as an excuse for their own crooked stupidness, which I mean,
Or
just
as an
don't
excuse
buy
to be
into it.
lazy. An excuse to be lazy.
Yeah. Don't buy into it and talk to people about this stuff. Get them to think of things in a different way. Get them to take ownership of their own destiny. Because you can change things. So that was just a story. You know, he didn't take up the cry of, you know, socialism. But, you know, it's just small conversations, hopefully
Yeah.
opening up different pathways in people. So now, let's get depressed. Adam.
Well, that's why I'm here, folks, to make you sad. Gather around, kids. Let me tear your hearts out.
I'll tell you a yarn.
These stats here that I'm going to read are consider them ammunition. It's not. I'm not here to make anyone upset or
All right, let's
angry.
get violent.
This is a report called "Striking It Richer: The Evolution of Top Incomes in the United States" by Emmanuel Saiz of UC Berkeley.
Okay.
We talked about this on our radio show this week. Check it out on WRFALP.
There were many accents involved.
There were, for some reason. This report is about income inequality statistics since the Great Recession. Now, we're reporting here 5 years since Lehman Brothers collapsed in September of 2008. And we had the recession of 2007, 2009, and now we're, as Obama likes to say, on the road to recovery. Well, here are some statistics. Between 2009 and 2012, the total U.S. income grew by 6%. Okay?
So that's the entire income, counting the rich and the poor. So everyone move forward.
Turns
Hey.
out it's not. The top 1%
Killjoy.
income bracket received 31.4% of that growth. The bottom 99% received 0.4% of that growth, which means 95% of income gains went to the top 1%. 95% of gains since the recovery. What kind of recovery is that?
Let me say this in a little bit of different terms. So 0.4% growth in capitalism is a failing company. That's a company that's going into bankruptcy.
Right.
In capitalism, you need roughly around 3% growth to be a healthy, functioning company. Well, the functioning company of the richest are growing beyond beyond reason, and the poor are a failing corporation. So
now, to be fair, during the Great Recession, the rich as well as the poor lost a lot of money. But of course, under all recessions, the richest don't get hit as hard as the poorest, because even though they lose a lot of money, the rich still have more money to go around, whereas the poor don't.
They don't skip meals.
Right.
They don't lose jobs.
They don't forcibly give up their kids for adoption because they can't afford to feed them anymore. Does anyone do that, actually? That may have been hyperbole. But the thing to take away most from this report is today the top 1% is almost at full recovery from the 2008 crash. In other words, all that they lost, they've gained back, whereas the bottom 99% has just barely started to recover. So everything that they lost during the recession is still gone. So basically, we've had a reorganization of class relations. We've had the rich were here, and the 99% were here, and then the recession happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the poor stayed down, but the rich went back up. So where the poor fell, they stayed, and where the rich fell, they recovered.
I feel like this would be better with graphics.
Maybe we should
I'm terrible
make that
at
next
this.
step.
Yeah.
For the show.
That would require actual real software skills, but that's...
I mean, isn't that outrageous? I mean,
that's
crazy.
And the last time this happened, the last time the divide between the rich and the poor got this big, we had the Great Society. Well, one, we had the Dust Bowl, and we had starvation and terror.
Even before the Great Depression was the Roaring '20s, when the income inequality was actually a blip below what it is today. Right now, 23.5% of income is captured by the top 1% of the entire nation. In the late 1920s, it was 24%. So it's just a blip below the peak in the late 20s. After World War II, the top 1% only captured 9% of income. So we saw getting closer. The bottom 99% were beginning to make more money, and the top 1% were getting taxed more. Since the mid-1970s, that has started to separate once again to the point where we're at today. We've gone back in time. We've gone back in time to the late 1920s, and like I mentioned on the show, this is not a result of God's decree or falling down from the sky. These are definite policies that are put in place by the people who are in charge, and they're in charge to protect those who are in power, and those who don't have any power, to hell with them. So the only way to turn these stats around is for the great majority of people to form a political party and have that party get elected and take power, and then pass policies that actually are good for the working class, the 99%, and not the 1%. Period. End of story.
And the divide between the rich and the poor was called the Gilded Age in the 1920s because it was hidden from view. So the people who were out in the open were flaunting their wealth. The Rockefellers were having lavish parties with just absolute indulgence going on. And then you had the horror of the poor who were starving, who were having an incredibly hard time. And it's that way again, because you don't really see too much in the media about poverty. You don't see you see that, there was once this Great Recession, now we're recovering, so everything's fine. And you see skewed statistics, and you see television portraying mostly people who are well-to-do, because that's what people want to be, that's what people want to see. You don't see too many shows that are portraying the poor getting screwed.
Right. And I realize no one wants to watch that as entertainment, but still, I mean, that is reality.
View the world.
Right. That is reality, and it's skewed when you watch
Yeah.
evening programming that contains upper middle class people. That's how the poor sees the world. They don't think about.
My brother just posted an article, and they were saying that most people think they're doing worse than the general people because the only people who are talking about their jobs and their lives are the people who are doing well and are happy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not doing well, your friends aren't going to be talking about their jobs if they're right there with you. So you just think everything's hunky-dory for everyone but you, but
Right.
it's not.
So please, this study is called "Striking It Richer: The Evolution of Top Incomes in the United States." Read it. Just Google it. You can find it online. Read these stats, absorb them. There's a lot more here. I wish I could go over all of it. We're running out of time.
I took up your time.
But that's okay. You have some good points. But this is not just to simply go red in the face over and go, "Ooh, those rich." This is to take and say, okay, we can either do nothing, and this is going to get worse, or we can form a political party of our own, the mass majority of people, and we can stop it.
We can rethink it because it's
Right.
this isn't a natural order. This isn't
No.
something that sprouted from the ground with a tree. This is something that was manufactured and that we all have to comply with for it to continue. Talk to people. Stop complying. Stop thinking that this has to be and this always will be, because it won't. Eventually, it won't be. So this has been the Adam and Sheridan Show. Catch us, our radio show, WRFALP.com.
And if you happen to be driving around the Jamestown area, we're on 107.9 on the FN dial.
WRFALP.wordpress.com. You can check us out there with our podcasts and on the SoundCloud link from there, which I still haven't memorized. It's failing.
It's okay. We do have at least that technological advance going for
True.
us, if not grasp.
True.
Also, we're on Facebook, the Adam and Sheridan Show. Please, if you don't leave a comment here in the comment section on YouTube, leave us a comment on Facebook or email us at AdamandSheridanShow@gmail.com. Let us know what you think.
Tweet us at Adam and Sheridan.
We certainly hope you have a great week. As Sheridan runs out of things to say,
I do.
we're running out of time. That's okay. Perfect.
I have absolutely nothing.
It's the greatest time to not have anything to say is when we run out of time.
Yep.
I'm Adam Courtwright.
I'm Sheridan. Stay active. I heard,
Where's your phone at?
I gotta go get that, but I heard ignorant from,
Everyone's ignorant.
from, oh brother,
Oh, yeah. Is you is or is you ain't my constituency.
Did you say is you is or is you ain't my constituency?
I did.
These boys. Okay.
There's a lot to get to here.
No, there's not.
So much important
There's
stuff.
nothing. That's ridiculous and untrue.